All right, let's get into it. Where we are, 10:30, 10:33 to be precise, 15th of October. So we're halfway through the month already. And look, I'll start off with DXY here because it is doing what it does with these sort of things. Like, and this is what I've been saying. You hear the term US dollar wrecking ball. Like, it was a term used a lot during this period here, sort of going back to sort of July last year. We remember where, look, you can see we had nice supports, broke down into this area here, took out all the sort of longs, dragged in a bunch of shorts, stuffed around here, and it just went up and up and up and up and up. And these are the kind of periods there where you kind of look at them. I mean, probably show it even better on a weekly. Actually, hold on, wait, where have we gone? Problem with sort of flying back. So back to 17 already. Here, this period here. Excuse me. So on the weekly here, you can see it very much here. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks in a row, and then 4 or 5 weeks in that to sort of turn around at the top. This is what, and I called it at the time, this is basically a short squeeze because what it's doing is it's sort of like, as I said, apart from the fact that it's broken all these levels, technically it's coming down here. You've got a big solid close down at the bottom. Certainly, if you look at just its period here, it got hammered that week just going through that level. And it just went up and up and up, and it just didn't give any chance for somebody to get off if they weren't sort of like, sort of short on it all. Like you can see little areas here where it had big top wick and people would have been going, okay, yep, here we go, bounced up here, come back. They would have been putting some stops up around here, maybe some stops around here, and it just kept churning through it and just kept hunting stops after stops after stops, got up to this level here, started to sell down a bit. And this is what I say about DXY. It can look like, it can give sort of top signals. This here is a top signal. This here is a top signal. And it just kept going on and on and on and on up the top. So, as I said, DXY won't turn around on a dime when it gets moving like this. And this is the important thing to know about these markets sometimes that, once it gets going, there's a good chance that it can just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. You get those fanboys, US dollar fanboys on side, and they can really boogie with it. And as you can see, as to where we are now, not as a significant break as in terms of sort of like how far down it came, but certainly look, you'd be looking at body candle, body candle. Well, here's the body close underneath, and then it went down a little bit further, and then zoop straight back up to the top side over here. And it is looking like it's wanting to sort of peter out a little bit. But as I said, you got to be aware that there is a high possibility and a chance that this just then just goes bang, charges through here. So, once it gets going, it is quite hard to sort of stop. In saying that, it's not to sort of say that it won't come back down over here. Like as I said, I am sort of US dollar sort of church. Look, it is finding resistance, as you can see, exactly where we've sort of got it marked out. So, it's right up into the second price target. It's into that sort of, let's get back on the daily, into that known area where we've seen the sellers value it to sell it previously and reject it down a little bit from there. Incredibly, like you pretty much can't get more overbought than that. So it is just screaming up into that top side over there. But again, look, it doesn't mean that these things, anything could stay overbought for a period of time. It just puts when you're trying to sort of add up all the chips and you're okay, it puts it a little bit in favor of okay, a little bit of a cool off of that with it as well. But as you can see, it certainly is very much in charge. I haven't put in a bottom wick from this week though, so I would be sort of wary if I was trying to look to buy US dollar or anything around this point. As I said, coming into this area, this was the price target we were calling from 100 or wherever we got down. Where we get down to? Yeah, 100, this area down here. And we were saying, look, you know what? This is the price target up over here. Top side, it's coming up into it now. Again, it could still move up to the top here because you got kind of that range measured move and that in line pretty much with these wicks previously as well. So it is a fairly big sort of little range here, 103.57 to 103.20, 30 cent sort of range. But it is coming up into this area. We are seeing the initial reactions that we would expect to see around this area. So, we just got to sort of, get down onto the lower time frames and sort of see, is this actually going to cool down? Or are we going to see this as I said, US dollar wrecking ball and keep sort of charging through here a little bit further. We do have a sort of a couple of levels if it does decide to go up where we could expect a bit more of a reaction. You know, the 61% retracement of that large move down from June, July, whenever it was, August. So you know what I mean. There are other levels above it, which I do believe in. Obviously, I've got marked out if we do decide to sort of keep churning through here. But I think sort of whether we sort of turn around here, or turn around here, I think we do have this move coming back to back test the top of this range or the top of the falling resistance of that channel that we were previously sort of trading in that. So it's just about getting that timing right and not sort of jumping in too early. As I said, these things take a little while to turn around. Even if it's not a major trend to sort of be coming back down all the way over here, it still will take a little bit once it gets going, a little bit to sort of to unwind and turn around. So we'll see how we go. We have got Tuesday now, so turn around Tuesday, see if that can come into effect, and see if we can see a little bit of a pullback. So interesting overnight as well. I mean, this was the move that we saw come through yesterday. Obviously, as you can see, put in a little bit of a bearish candle right off the top over here. There was a bit of China data out middle of the night. China data, China news, whatever you want to call it. And I'd have to investigate a little bit more. But as far as I can tell, it was obviously sort of more talk of the stimulus. But again, they're not completely committing to it. And it gave it a very sort of odd reaction. So if we get onto the long time frame, was this move here, I believe. It was around 12 o'clock. I was actually asleep by the stage in that, and I sort of woke up halfway through, and a couple of positions that I had flown up. I'd missed the peaks. I took little bits and pieces and that, but yeah, it would have been nice to sort of to really clip off a couple of these things. Aussie jumped up 50 points, silver up 50 points, gold up $10, copper moved. I can't tell you how much. Certainly moved to the top side though, so I'll cover that in a moment. But yeah, as I said, it was very quick and very undid it. And like I'll show you actually, just while on the topic of it, this is obviously the more relevant part of it. And you can see this quick sell down here. It actually hit our alerts, put in a little bottom wick for the week, and then bang, straight back up and completely undid that move. This is on a 1 hour, so it took 2 or 3 hours, undid that whole move. And now it's obviously sort of rolling over, sort of coming back down a little bit now. But we'll get to that in a moment. But you can just see how much the market is actually sort of waiting on that sort of China stimulus data. And it is affecting things. As you just saw, it affected the metals. It affected Aussie, obviously. It affected the yuan and obviously across a little bit of DXY. However, the takeaway, as I believe from it, is that it wasn't really as expected, like as in saying the expectation would be, you know, mass amounts of stimulus. I think they're still a bit wish-washy and unable to fully sort of commit to what they're doing. So obviously the talk of it reacts. The fact that it didn't land undoes it. So to me, that seems like a pretty sort of keen bit of data or news to sort of keep an eye on at the moment because the market is obviously it is affecting the market. So if they do announce and they do say, hey, look, you know what? Bang, 100% stimulus. Like I've heard some ridiculous amounts of numbers in there. I mean, it's hard to put into concept, like, you know, when somebody says something trillion one or whatever, but it worked out to like 285 billion US. I'm pretty sure something along those lines. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines. So we're not talking small change here, obviously. I mean, look, it's China. And it's a central bank. So, you know what I mean? There's big money involved, and the market likes it if it comes. I mean, we saw the reaction with A50 the other week. This one here. So we'll pop it onto here. Going back and forth on all these charts, I know. But that was the reaction of the first time of it. And we said, I remember at the time saying, look, this move it can't continue. It's not that it won't, it can't continue. It was expecting this pullback like this, and we got quite a sharp pullback here. And as you can see, the market is just thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. You get the news, market goes like this, metals go up, US dollar goes down, Aussie goes up. That seems to be the reaction that we can expect if or when they say, yep, you know what, let's bring it on, let's pump a bunch of cash into the system. So, excuse me. Back to what we're talking about now. We're on DXY. We're up into this area where we know there should be some selling. Nothing really too much to say about the RSI. It does seem to look like it had this little consolidation period here, very up and down, up and down. This is like through last week when we had CPI and all these kind of bits and pieces. And I did say over the weekend, look, a close up around this area could see a little bit of upside. That has happened now. So now we sort of think, okay, is that it? Is that their little push? And we come back down here. Again, if we want to see this to sort of, confirm and say this move down here, what you're going to have to look for is either a couple of days of up, down kind of thing, or you're going to have to sort of look for this kind of move here where we've got a little sort of range that we were talking about. It moves out to the top side and then comes back and takes out the bottom side. That'll be your top signal. It'll either be sort of, as I said, a failed breakout, and failed breakouts, as I've said a couple of times, failed breakout is as good as a breakout because you know what I mean. It goes to show that it was trying to go, and not only did it not go, it got rejected. It'll generally be a good sort of reversal signal. Um, or we'll get the sort of thing as I showed previously, where it'll sort of fall down, jam back up, fall down, jam back up, and it'll just basically play games with you a couple of times, couple of times, couple of times, till you get sick of it, till you can't. You go, look, I need a break. I can't do this. It's not working. Or you're financially knocked out a little bit, and you're like, okay, I need to chill out a bit there. And then when that kind of stuff's happening, that's when you'll see a little bit of a move. But we can update this little fib now as we've put in a new high. And as you can see, like realistically, through these moves through here, the pullbacks are very shallow, like almost non-existent. Like, because take this as a high. At one point, this was the high here. Didn't get to the 23. We put in a new high. Didn't get to the 23. New high. 23 pullback still just takes you back down to testing the top side of this. And this is what I was saying, sort of like potentially, like this move, it could come down here, as I said, to the 60, 61. But what if it comes to a 38? I mean, we know that this is a previous area. That's why we've got it marked out. Back over here, it was an area of significance. Comes back down here, 38. We know that that's a sort of bullish retracement. This kind of move here. So, these are all possibilities. I do believe that we're going to get a pullback and then it'll recharge and another go. That is my overall sort of approach towards the markets for the next couple of weeks or, months, maybe through to the end of the year. I mean, we're halfway through October now. Really, there's only maybe 2 months of good trading left and then everybody's sort of winding down for Christmas, New Year's sort of period. So, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt that we sort of come back here and then so we do sort of push back up over here. So, there's a couple of things to sort of keep in mind with it all, but I think sort of looking for the sort of confirmation signals in the short term is what will help us sort of like gauge whether we're sort of holding or whether we're sort of just jumping in and out of positions or, whatever it may sort of be. Obviously, that's more my style, jumping in and out. But, I like to keep runners and, it's nice to sort of see these things at least sort of swing into a positive and not sort of feel like, you're sort of potentially having the whole market run away from you. Like anybody that was sort of like, short the US dollar down here, well, they're either out, you'd hope they're out, or they're really sort of hurting back up over this area over here. But certainly sort of like, when you look at the sort of the cross of things, DXY is pushed right up over here. I mean, look, it's not a massive push up, but we are 50% back into that move from the lows. Oh, something's happening with the data feed there. 50% back into that move from the lows. And, some things, mainly Aussie, gold, silver, they're kind of still holding pretty well. Well, gold and silver are holding a lot better than, say, Aussie is. Aussie's sort of pulled 200, 220, 230 points off its highs. But it hasn't completely fallen apart. And when you look at it compared to, like, say, Euro and that, it's actually holding up a little bit better. Like, it's a bit more sort of just sideways and really holding this level through here. So, we'll have to sort of see. It does look like, we may see a little bit of a pullback here, turn around Tuesday sort of status and that. Till you get underneath 102.70, I think you really got to sort of think that, things are just going to be bought up, bought up, bought up. And as you can see, well, I showed a second ago, the pullbacks are still very shallow. So you got to wait till you get one of those deep pullbacks. But in saying that, DXY is not afraid of doing deep pullbacks. Hence, this kind of move. Hold on, let's just make a double one of this. So, hence this potential move down here to a 61. And then I believe that this moves. I do think this is the general course of what we're going to be seeing here. I mean, things can change depending on sort of like what data is presented to us, and that's another thing as well. It's a super quiet week with data. Up until Thursday, there's just nothing. There's no US data. There's no, well, for us, Aussie data. Aussie data, we got employment coming out. They've spammed another 20,000. One day they'll get it right. Um, But US retail is the first bit of data that could potentially move the market. So I think really with no data and nothing to sort of no catalysts to sort of move things a bit more, I think you just got to pretty much just trade the levels and the flow, and so expect their levels to hold, and things just to basically range a little bit through there. So that's how I'm looking. I reckon we have a little bit of a cool down here, maybe back into this little area down over here. If we do get underneath 102.70, I think that's a good signal. However, as you can see, buys, 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 buys. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a reaction, buys sort of pick it up a little bit from this sort of 102.85 area. So a little bit of downside potentially sort of coming through Asia today is what I'll be sort of looking for. All right, flip across and we got Aussie. Aussie still, as I said, look, he's holding the lows, but took a little bit of a deeper beating than I thought. Like this was coming in Friday, close of Friday, and as I say, you don't really sort of regard the last one there. It rejected where it should have rejected though. As you can see, we've got this falling resistance here, bang, end the spot, came in a touch, bang, came back down here. For a moment, it was looking very good because it came back down here. This was the plan, back down into the 20s, and here we go for it to move again. But then it went down and then couldn't hold it and just went bang, 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 back down over, back down to 67, where we get 67.01. So really, this is your line in the sand for Aussie. You know what I mean? If you get much below this, it's going to be looking pretty tough because when we're going to be having sort of like sort of a rally, basically no even rally attempt. It's gone sideways. It stopped the bleeding from going down. It's going sideways, but you want to at least see a sustained rally break up here. Interesting, this little close to the week, this move up through here. But as I said, I think the market is very much, or at least Aussie in this regard, is very much watching out for this China data. And that's the thing that there was speculation that we were going to hear something over the weekend in regards to this. It didn't really come, and that's why we got the big gaps down on metals, and we got gap down on Aussie here, and these kind of things. Because it's sort of like people position for it, it doesn't happen. They go, oh, well, I don't want to be sort of holding here because I only bought it just based on it going bang up here. Like you could have very easily, if they announced, okay, yes, the stimulus 100% is coming and it's, whatever trillion one and all this kind of thing, your gap wouldn't have been down here. Your gap would have been up over here. So, this is people positioning for it. It doesn't happen. We sell on open, gap down, and a little bit of stuffing around and that with it all. But for the time being, we are still more or less, this was the whole plan as we came down here. This is why I like sort of keeping these, the charts get pretty messy, but I do like keeping these things on here because as we were coming down here, I drew this thing and I said, look, this is what we're potentially going to be seeing. It is how it is happening. And this is why it's important to sort of, trade only a handful of things, in my opinion, anyway, because you get to have a pretty good idea about how they're going to act. And as we can see here, sideways, 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 boom. I would have thought maybe we got this pull down here, but maybe this move is just this move down here. As you can see, it is a little bit lower, closed down lower than any of the other sort of 4-hour candles had. Comes down the bottom and then bang, jams back up over through here. So look, I think sort of Aussie, certainly the levels that we're looking at the moment is to get above this falling resistance, which, I mean, at this point is above, say, 37.40. 67.40. I must have some sort of level of dyslexia, or maybe just sort of flipping back and forth between these charts so quickly. But yeah, above 37.40, say let's still enact this sideways horizontal here because this obviously held a lot through last week. A little bit of a breakout and then obviously back down underneath it over here. So we've had, like, if you think about this, and this is what I've pointed out a couple of times. Actually, we can just use this one and drag it out. Say that's your range here. This is how ranges can really work. When you see a break like this, and then you see a little bit of a flow out the top over here, and it fails, comes back down here, you've got this little counter swing here. So this move here is basically replicated down the bottom side here, and we're back into the range. Boom, 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 boom. So I would say the levels that you're really kind of looking for here, which, there's a few of them. I mean, basically, once you get above here, get above 67.70, and I think that's good to sort of say, hey, look, we've got a pretty good idea that we're moving back up a bit. But in the short term, through this falling resistance and call, 67.45, this little area through here, which we can see, sellers, 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 kind of buyers, sellers. This zone through here. This is the level you want to sort of get above. A close up over here. You want to take out this little wick high, but really this little area over here. So above 67.70, when that alert goes off, I would say, okay, we're probably going to see a little bit more of a move up to the top side with Aussie. But for the moment, it is still sideways. It's in a range. But as you can see, this falling resistance, it has played its part. It played its part even just coming into Friday's close. So it is obviously something that the market is looking at. So through here, through the swing high, I think this is where we could start to see a little bit of a move up. And again, this is, as I said, I think we see a little bit of a cooling off with US dollar. Not saying it's going to break down from now, but a little bit of a cooling off with US dollar can get Aussie back up into these areas over here and could give us a little bit of that sort of technical sort of breakout, a little bit of reprieve to the top side over here. That's a top side idea. Bottom side idea is basically if we take out 67, I did have this buy zone down here, which I would have loved to have got earlier. Now I'm starting to think it's a little bit iffy. Only just because, you know what, it would have been nice to have got it earlier. 90s, we do know, is generally a pretty strong area, but how many times is it try to hold, try to hold, try to hold, try to hold? Again, if you see a depletion of buyers at this level, you could expect that there's probably got some stops underneath it, which could give it that extra liquidity to get back down to this sort of maybe 66.50s, back into this kind of congestion area that we had over here. I wouldn't be surprised. Whoop, not that one. I'm sure what's that. There's a breakout box there. Something maybe along this little area over here. I wouldn't be surprised as to be a little bit of an overshoot. If we lose 67, I think sort of 66, 70s could be the area where you see a little bit of a either profit taking or another attempt to try and buy this thing back up a little bit here. But at the moment, I think that we probably do have at least a rally attempt up through over here. It has been holding quite well. But again, just because it's holding doesn't mean it's not just stalling before the next leg lower. As I said, US dollar wrecking ball, US dollar fanboys. These are the things you've got to watch out for. And if that does happen, then you're going to see Aussie take a little bit of a bath, a little bit below 67, in my opinion, anyway. Flip across, we got gold. Gold finished the week very strong. Actually sort of came out. Again, look, it had its gap down. You can't really see the gap down so much on this. Maybe these guys don't show it so much. I can't even remember where gold sort of opened here. But so gold took a little bit of a hammer on the open, but recovery, bang, actually pushed it into a new high in this sort of sense of this kind of level here. It did come into an area where, we can see the sellers have been sitting here previously, and they're back in over here as well. So there's no sort of shocker that it sort of got sold down into that. It is sort of seeming to sort of hold its little pullback down here. This was really just a back test of this sort of falling resistance. As a breakout, back test, tried to go for the higher high, failed, back down here. Really, it's just in a little consolidation zone through here. And I'd put that on the wick there. So call that one your little breakout box. That's the kind of area that I'm looking for gold to sort of try and maintain and hold. If it can sort of hold above, say, 43, this little area here as well, I think it's really just, you could go either way with it all. I think a close above 60, okay, fine, we're going to be looking at, say, 72s and all this kind of stuff. If we close much below, say, really say 42, 37, like these kind of levels down here, this could give it a little bit of an overshoot, another retest, a little bit lower, say 36. You get much below here, you got to accept that this may be a bit of a sort of failed breakout and a little bit of a sort of short squeeze. And then we could be sort of looking back down at 67s, and we could be looking at really just a much bigger kind of range through this sort of period over here. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but again, you need to consider both sides of it all. Gold did have a great rally off this, 2600 level, 66 bucks or so from the lows to the highs through there. So it has been a pretty good run and quite quickly as well. So we've seen a lot of back and forth congestion in this kind of area previously. Like if you look at this through here, this is very much just a back and forth, back and forth. So what I'm sort of thinking is if we do happen to get a close down here, we could be seeing similar as this kind of area here with the quick sort of move down. May not necessarily come like down as far, so it's a massive down, like short candle there, but it could start the flow to sort of come back down to 2640s, 2600, even these kind of lower main levels. But for the time being, it is in its short term bullish. It is moving up like this. It's tried to, it's got its breakout, back test, tried to go in for the continuation, obviously found some resistance and back into its box. So the main thing for it to do is hold 2640. If it can hold 2640, then I think it's still in the case of stalling. First attempt got knocked on the head. Second attempt maybe the one to sort of go through. But as I said, till we get something to really as a bit of a catalyst, as I said, like the China stuff, or maybe even retail sales could be something that could sort of shunt things along a little bit. There's a good chance that you just keep sort of trading this range through here. Flip across, we've got silver. Silver, same sort of thing with gold. It got smashed on the open yesterday. It came back up, right up to the top. Didn't actually put in a new high as for this rally attempt through here. Like I said, so a little bit underperformed on sort of what gold had done there. Where we got 11 o'clock. Just seeing a little bit of volume sort of come into the markets. Again, it's tried to rally up. It's just not going anywhere at the moment. So, excuse me, a little bit boring, but seems to be consolidations. You know what I mean? Like it's tried to sell down, it's found buyers. Tried to move up, found sellers. Really, things are just sort of awaiting what's the next direction. Is this the top with DXY? Or maybe not necessarily top, but even a short-term, medium-term top, and we could see a little bit of recovery, further recovery through here. As I said, I think if we do find whatever it needs to get back up to sort of like 32, next time we come into this lot over here, I think there's a good chance that we sort of go through the top over here. So I said it's not going to be not going to be a straight run. Certainly not. It's up, kind of thing. So, a break above, say, 3160, or a close actually above 3160, 3165, whatever, if you want to split hairs on the actual cent of it all. Basically, above these sort of wick highs over here, you could call this a little stall, consolidation, and on it goes and moves up towards 32. I mean, we've probably got some smaller ranges and zones in here that we could drag out, like a little bit of this support here, resistance here. This could be obviously a little bit of a cap through it all. That's a 61%, as you can see, of that kind of move down as well. So I think this could be next little target. So it's 31.84. Should we get a little bit of move? But again, look, that's a 60-cent move from where we are currently. If we get onto lower time frames, this is what I was talking about last night. This kind of moves through. So that was open, just to give you an idea. Back down into an area, already marked out, boom, brought back up. Then it just grinded all the way back up. This was the move last night off that sort of a bit of China talk. And this is why I say the market's very much in favor of this. If it gets that right kind of bit of news, it's going to take off. It went in, this is on a 15-minute candle. So in half an hour or so, 31, it moved 40 points in 30, 45 minutes or so. And then obviously, as I said, the data or the news, the data, whatever we want to call it, wasn't quite what the market was really looking for, and it boom, and it completely undid that entire move. So look, if this to me says that sort of like it's very important to pay attention to this data and this news, because if it comes and they say, yep, it is, I think we could be seeing that as a good catalyst to get these markets to really pump up to the top side. So it's certainly something worth keeping an eye on at the moment. But as you can see, down, really up and down, up. It's just sideways, just grinding at the moment. So, I mean, get above 31.30, and then we could maybe look to the top side, 31.50s. As I said, about 31.60, and then you're looking up at sort of 31.80. So, it's quite a few little levels through there that you can expect to see a little bit of pushback through. So it's not going to be easy. It's not a straight cut through there. But yeah, I think there is more of a favor, as I said, with these sort of things, when they're coming into these sort of consolidation periods, typically more often than not, you look at the direction that it came into it. So, in this instance, it came into it bullish, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. I know, boring, but it leads it typically more to continuations opposed to reversals. But, I mean, nothing's a certain, so we just have to sort of, as I said, pick those levels and see where it does decide to break when it does break. Again, 12 o'clock and 12:30 more actually seem to be the hours where we see a little bit of volume coming into the metals at the moment. So where are we at now? 11:04. So in about an hour or so, I think we could see a little bit of movement. Okay, and copper, as I said, same sort of deal. Bang, up here, we found resistance where we thought we may. As per the weekend, and I was saying, look, if we find resistance earlier than coming up to touch here, this could be an early indicator that we're coming back further down. It's holding this level down here at the moment, this 440 kind of thing, 440 and change. We can see that that's obviously, got just touched into here again, and it's found a little bit of support coming through here. And just like with the other markets, this is the reaction when we heard the China data. This is why I say it's important. Look at all the charts and that. This went, I mean, it's not super massive move, of course, but I mean, when you look at this is on a 30-minute. If you look how much it's moving per candle, and then you get a big move like this, and it shoots up, 1.3% in 30 minutes, 570 points, that's a good reaction. But again, it wasn't the data or news that the market fully wanted to hear or see. They want confirmation. They don't want wishy-washy. They want to know, yeah, the money's coming. If the money's coming, bang, we'll go up. If it's a bit wishy-washy, well, overreaction, bang, sell into it. And likewise, if it doesn't come, then you look at downside moves as well. But for the time being, go back onto the 4 hour at least with this one, we are sort of seeing it still sort of drift in this sort of downward motion here. Just trying to see if there's anything else we can drag over this. You call that maybe a little bit of a thing. I mean, obviously that last 4 hours of last week sort of kind of broke through, but it is kind of moving through this area over here at the moment. I think really it hasn't even closed the gap, so I think there's a good chance that we could see again maybe a little bit of a rally attempt to come up and close there. I think if you do break 440, we could be sort of looking down into there. We do have a couple of sort of support areas through here, but I think we could be looking at a little bit of a deeper sort of pullback if 440 goes. And with this, you may see a little fast move down and then a sort of drag back up. But certainly at the moment, you got buyers, you got buyers, you got buyers. As long as we've got buyers in this zone, it's willing to give it a bit of a shot. But if we see a depletion of buyers at this level, well, I'd sort of say we've got a pretty good little move to the downside coming. Okay, and finally, just with China, as you can see here, this is obviously the main one. It has broken through this channel, found support kind of where we thought it might. Gap up yesterday because everybody was thinking, okay, we're going to see this stimulus. So that's the thing as well. As I said, look, dribble down. If they announced it over the weekend, the gap would have been here because all the people have been done. Gap was already down here. It didn't. People peel back their positions, they wind them back, whatever you want to call it, and move up through here. But again, get onto the lower time frame, and you can see how the market reacted with that data or with that bit of news. It just dumped it, and then wasn't exactly what it wanted. Okay, moves back up a little bit here again. So as you can see, it's affecting quite a few parts of the market. So it's certainly something worth paying attention to at the moment, in my opinion. Look, levels still remain, I would say, underneath 706 to sort of see confirmation of a breakdown over here. If we get back on the 4 hour, you can see it a bit better, that this is potentially It was trying to hold it, trying to hold it, trying to hold it, trying to hold it, broke it, retest underside, retest underside, sold down a little bit, retest underside. So again, look, put this alert down to over here, and I could say we sort of taking up that's last week's lows, I believe. So if we take out this level over here, I think this could be the confirmation we get to move back down here a little bit. And this will be at the same time, if this does come, this will be at the same time you see Aussie do a little bit of a rally. We may see metals sort of push up a little bit more as well, copper recover a little bit through that kind of period. If we do see this pushing down here, is starting to roll over with the RSI a little bit. As I said, it's real volume isn't into the market for Asia yet. If we do see this start to roll over and this come down, I'd be looking for the top side moves, as I said, on at least for in the interim with metals and Aussie. All right, cool. So I think that's about it. Have a look over news. Of course, we had bank holidays yesterday as well with US and Canada. So these guys coming back on board today. I think Japan as well. Yep, Japan. Let's refresh this, see if there was much sort of bit of China data out overnight. Oh, a big jump up there in new loans. So, there must be some sort of people putting some money into the market over here as well. So we had some Fed speakers overnight. This as well could also be something sort of moving the markets a little bit. I did see quite a few bits of highlights of their sort of talks and that coming out around that time as well, 12 o'clock. Not so much of this morning. But again, look, as this was saying, like we have no data at all through Asia today. We got some industrial production out of Japan at 3:30. Not really a market mover, or not for what I'm trading anyway. We got sort of unemployment claims, a Claremont count, and that for GBP 5 o'clock. Again, it may move the market a little bit, but only if it's a massive shock. I don't think this is going to be something that's really going to be defining what's happening with the markets. And then not really anything through here. Yes, we got CAD CPI. Okay, maybe that could be something, as I said, a bit of proxy in that sort of if that does happens to go up. We got Empire State Manufacturing. Okay, so that's quite a big sort of tip down here. So again, strong US data at the moment is going to sort of bolster the idea of hold on, wait, we don't need to cut so hard. If they have weak numbers like this, so this comes in at this level, you may see a little bit of a sort of pullback on the Aussie, on the US dollar. Again, if this is the actual prediction, if this is the expectation, that's quite a big drop off. So you could see the market position a little bit for this. But again, it's a US dollar wrecking ball, so you don't necessarily want to stand in front of it. All right, that's it from me.